Historical evolution and enlargement of the European Union. The European Union (EU) represents one of the most significant and complex political and economic projects of the 20th and 21st centuries. Its origins lie in the aftermath of World War II, as European nations sought ways to prevent future conflicts, foster cooperation, and rebuild their economies. Over the decades, the EU has expanded in both scope and membership, evolving into a unique supranational organization that has profoundly shaped the political landscape of Europe and the broader world. Below is an overview of the historical evolution and enlargement of the EU. 1. Postwar foundations and early cooperation. 19,451,957. The devastation of World War II prompted European leaders to consider new methods of ensuring lasting peace. The idea was to bind the economies of the major European powers so tightly that war would become economically and politically unfeasible. The groundwork for what would eventually become the EU was laid with the formation of several key organizations focused on economic integration. 1948, the Organization for European Economic Cooperation to administer the Marshall Plan, (IO) funded initiative aimed at rebuilding European economies after 1949. NATO was formed to provide collective defense in response to the growing Cold War tensions. 1951, the Treaty of Paris created the European Coal and Steel Community (ECSC), uniting France, West Germany, Italy, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg in the management of coal and steel industries, which were critical for war production. The ECSC marked the first step toward economic integration and political cooperation. 2. Formation of the European Economic Community (EEC). 19,571,973. The success of the ECSC encouraged further integration. In 1957, the 6 founding countries signed the Treaty of Rome, establishing the European Economic Community (EEC) and the European Atomic Energy Community (EURATOM). European Economic Community (EEC). The EEC aimed to create a common market characterized by the free movement of goods, services, people, and capital. The community sought to eliminate trade barriers and promote economic cooperation. Euratom. This organization was established to create a specialized market for nuclear power in Europe, furthering cooperation in the field of atomic energy. The early years of the EEC focused on deepening economic integration among the 6 member states, fostering rapid economic growth, and setting the stage for future expansion. 3. First enlargement and political integration. 19,731,986. The 1970s and 1980s marked the first significant expansion of the EEC and a gradual shift toward political integration. 1973, the first enlargement occurred when the United Kingdom, Ireland, and Denmark joined the EEC. This expansion solidified the EEC's influence in Western Europe and marked the beginning of its transformation into a pan-European project. 1979, the first direct elections to the European Parliament took place, enhancing the democratic legitimacy of the EEC institutions. 1981, Greece became the 10th member of the EEC. 1986, Spain and Portugal joined, further expanding the community and reinforcing the democratic values that underpin the organization. The signing of the Single European Act 1986 was another critical step. It aimed to complete the single market by 1992, which would allow the free movement of goods, capital, services, and people across member states. This act laid the foundation for deeper political integration by expanding the powers of the European Parliament and introducing majority voting in the Council of Ministers. 4. The creation of the European Union 19,922,004. The end of the Cold War, the fall of the Iron Curtain, and the reunification of Germany fundamentally altered the political landscape of Europe, necessitating further integration. The Treaty of Maastricht 1992 was a turning point, as it formally established the European Union and set out ambitious plans for economic, monetary, and political integration. European Union (EU). The Maastricht Treaty expanded the EEC into a political union, creating the three-pillar structure: the European Communities, economic integration, common foreign and security policy (CFSP), and justice and home affairs (JHA). Economic and Monetary Union (EMU). The treaty laid the groundwork for the creation of a single currency, the euro, which would come into use in 1999 and physical circulation in 2002. European citizenship. The treaty introduced the concept of European citizenship, granting EU citizens the right to live, work, and vote in any member state. 5. Eastern Enlargement 20,042,013. The end of the Cold War and the dissolution of the Soviet Union opened the door for Central and Eastern European countries to join the EU. This enlargement was the most significant in terms of scope and political impact, symbolizing the reunification of Eastern and Western Europe. 2004. The EU expanded to include 10 new countries: Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Slovenia, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Cyprus, and Malta. This marked the largest enlargement in the EU's history. 2007. Bulgaria and Romania joined the EU. 2013. Croatia became the 28th member state, completing the most recent round of enlargement. This expansion was motivated by the desire to stabilize and integrate post-communist countries into the European market, promote democracy, and enhance security across the continent. 6. Challenges and future prospects. The 21st century has presented the EU with several challenges, including the financial crisis of 2008, the rise of populism, migration crisis, and most notably, the United Kingdom's decision to leave the EU. Brexit in 2016. Brexit, which took effect in 2020, marked the first time a member state had departed from the EU, raising questions about the future of European integration. Despite these challenges, the EU continues to play a crucial role in global, economic, and political affairs. Countries such as Serbia, Montenegro, Albania, and North Macedonia are candidates for future membership, reflecting the EU's ongoing commitment to enlargement. Institutions and decision-making processes within the European Union. The European Union (EU) is a unique political and economic organization that operates through a complex system of institutions and decision-making processes. Its governance structure reflects the balance between supranationalism, where power is transferred to a higher authority, and intergovernmentalism, where member states retain control. This balance ensures that the interests of member states and EU citizens are considered when making decisions. Below is an in-depth overview of the key EU institutions and the decision-making processes that guide the Union's operations. 1. Key institutions of the European Union. The EU's institutional framework is composed of several core bodies, each playing a distinct role in the governance and legislative processes of the Union. These institutions work together to ensure that laws are passed, policies are implemented, and interests are represented at both the EU and member state levels. The European Commission. The European Commission (EC) is the executive arm of the EU, responsible for proposing legislation, enforcing EU laws, and managing day-to-day business, including budgetary matters. B. The European Parliament. The European Parliament (EP) is the directly elected legislative body of the EU and represents the citizens of the Union. The Parliament plays a critical role in the legislative process, sharing decision-making power with the Council of the European Union. It is responsible for passing legislation, approving the EU budget, and overseeing the European Commission. T. The Council of the European Union, also known as the Council of Ministers, the Council of the European Union, represents the governments of member states and shares legislative authority with the European Parliament. D. The European Council. The European Council consists of the heads of state or government of the EU's member states, the President of the European Council, and the President of the European Commission. E. The Court of Justice of the European Union (CJEU). The Court of Justice of the European Union is the judicial authority of the EU. It ensures the consistent interpretation and application of EU law across all member states. The European Central Bank (ECB). The European Central Bank is responsible for managing the euro and setting monetary policy for the Eurozone, which consists of the 20 EU member states that use the euro as their currency. G. The European Court of Auditors. The European Court of Auditors is responsible for auditing the EU's finances to ensure that EU funds are spent properly and according to the law. It audits the EU's income and expenditures, assessing whether the EU budget has been properly implemented. 2. Decision-making processes in the European Union. EU decision-making processes are designed to balance the interests of EU citizens, member states, and the Union as a whole. The procedures vary depending on the policy area, but usually follow a standard legislative process